Till in 1964 Nikes were being made on a waffle press in a van, while Converse was producing almost 100% of all basketball shoes for the NBA and NCAA. By 2003, Converse was bankrupt and Nike purchased what remained of the company for $138 million. A lot can change in 39 years. And now Converse are made like shit. Converse getting bought by Nike was such a tragedy among my punk/indie friend group at the time. I remember hearing they were going to start putting the swoosh logo on the toe caps LMAO. Eli 5, why do Texans have to wrap their pipes and drip their faucets when it freezes? Why don't they just do whatever it is that people in Minnesota do in order to avoid pipes bursting when it freezes? I'm sure that they do what we do here in Sweden, which is to bury pipes deep, insulate them, keep crawl spaces and such insulated and heated, sometimes even wrap electrical heating tape around them, and pipes still break every winter. Pipes in Minnesota will burst if they're not protected either. But there the pipes are put below the frost line, which is several feet down. Texas doesn't have a frost line, or it's much shallower, and it freezes so rarely here that putting pipes deeper isn't worth the extra added expense, especially since the soil is only a few inches deep in many places. You'd have to dig through rock to put in the pipes deeper. To foot by creating an alter ego as a bid, and this alter ego now shows up on my credit report and background check. Is it possible Ricky is real and you're the alter ego? How in the heck did it get on your credit report? Commit to it. Ricky does exist. In fact, Ricky is even planning to get married and settle down. He's even asked you to be the best man. He'll have kids and they can come over to play at your place with your kids. You two can hang out as dads, crack open a beer and talk about dad stuff. Till in 1982 a crew of 5 sailing from Maine to Florida ran into a storm with 30-foot waves which capsized their boat. Over the next 5 days, 2 of them became delirious after drinking salt water and walked off the dinghy into many awaiting sharks. Infection killed a third, leaving 2 survivors. How heartbreaking, to watch 2 people eaten alive in front of you. I wonder if I would be as resilient as the survivors were? Never drink the salt water, never. There used to be a show on Discovery or maybe History Channel like 10 to 15 years ago that had real-life horror stories or something to that effect, cannot remember what the show was called. But they had an episode dramatizing what sounds like this exact incident, and all I can remember is the actors floating on a safety boat dying of dehydration only for at least one of them to drink salt water, go insane, and proceed to jump into shark-infested waters. Scarred me as a kid. Till the 2006 Robbie Williams album Rudebox underperformed so hard 1 million unsold copies of the album were sold to a Chinese company to be recycled and used as a road paving material. I have good news and bad news. The good news is we've just sold 1 million copies in one day. Was this in the film? The album was a huge hit. They just made far more copies than they needed. Throw your receipt at me. Have fun picking it up from the trash. Revenge best served dusty clapping hands light skin tone. I'm surprised that he didn't go to your generic spineless assistant store manager and demand that you, a scurvy villain, fish the receipt out, since you obviously misunderstood what he himself had said. Fix it now. You got it, boss. There's a judge on TV who says the cheap comes out expensive. It would have been cheaper just to hire the plumber in the first place. Now they have to worry about the wiring and the ceilings and the floors and all of that. They have to worry about mold. This is going to be an expensive fix if they do it right. Manglement comes through again. Why do women only have a set number of eggs instead of constantly producing them like men produce sperm? Evolution operates on the grounds of, fuck it, good enough. Women have enough eggs to have a pretty large window to have kids in, and that's good enough. Women are born with 2 million. How many do you think we need? Eggs are expensive to create and manage. They're also much more valuable as a resource than sperm and do better when they're utilized at the right time. To foot by joking about the CEO's baldness and getting fired for it? You might want to work on your joke delivery face with tears of joy. You thought it was self-deprecating to deprecate yourself by comparing yourself to another person, to their face. Rolling on the floor laughing. I don't think it counts as self-deprecating humor if your joke deprecates another person more than it deprecates you. In fact, it probably doesn't count if anyone other than you is also deprecated by the joke. My first professional job as a programmer was a small company. The president was in the test lab talking through a problem and said something actually helpful. I looked at him without thinking and said something like, "Wow, you do sometimes know what you're talking about." Fortunately he laughed and ribbed me a little. Assigned seed. You sure about that? Your wife knew exactly what she was doing. Well played. Your wife is awesome. Okay hand. Mandatory chapel is a wild concept. LPT, shovel the snow before it starts to melt. Bold of you to think the South has snow shovels at the ready. LOL, we don't have snow shovels. We just all stay home for the 24 to 48 hours before the snow is gone. Why do people have to have their kids be biologically theirs? For a lot of people, the appeal of kids is that they are their kids. As such, they're not that interested in adopting, especially if the kid is older and / or doesn't look like them. Most people are upfront in believing that kids are a ton of work. They're often not willing to put in that work unless the child is theirs. The urge to have children comes from the biological instinct to reproduce. Some people can extend that to an urge to raise children, period, some can't. To foot by accidentally convincing my roommate we're getting married. Someone, somewhere hated confrontation so much they ended up married in this situation. I don't get from this how you think he was serious. It seems to me that he was just continuing the joke. It seems 100% him just continuing the joke. I don't get why people think he was serious. He didn't even make a grandiose event out of confessing his eternal love, he literally got her a bread twist tie. Play it cool. Don't let on that you know it's a joke. Go on a honeymoon, get joint bank accounts, adopt a dog. In 40 or 50 years you'll be able to turn the tables when he says he was joking when he asked if you were serious. LPT, the recipe says brown the meat, not gray it. I just made a pasta dish tonight with ground beef and wondered if anyone ever actually successfully browns the meat or just turns it gray. There was so much moisture in the meat. I guess I have to just cook higher and longer. This, and it also never takes 5 minutes as the recipe inexplicably claims. Good cooking involves patience. TIL in the USA, there can be 450 insect parts and 9 rodent hairs in every 16 ounces, box of spaghetti. Well, good thing we boil it. You'd need a microscope to know it was on the menu. Once you find a place to store food that doesn't attract insects and rodents, please let us know. It's a very expensive battle which that industry faces. To eliminate it, you'd pay $47 for a box of penne. That's the minimum only because it's impossible to be completely free of it. You're eating bug every time you eat. Accept it. Like and subscribe.